Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs, and today I have this really cool vibrant lantern card to share with you. So let's jump right in. So to start, I have a piece of distressed watercolor cardstock here, and I'm going to white heat emboss some texture onto the background. The stamp I'm using here is from the Reflection stamp set by Tim Holtz. That's an older stamp set, but I believe you can still purchase it. And I'm just going to white heat emboss them on the back. It could be clear. I chose white just because that's what I had sitting there, but clear, it wouldn't matter either direction. So I'm going to use some fine detail embossing powder by Ranger. And there was no real intention of trying to stamp perfectly. Like you can kind of see that I just used my hand. I kind of just pressed it in the background. So if it's not perfect, no big deal. I didn't use a stamping platform on purpose because this is just the background. I don't need it to be perfect. Anything that kind of skipped or missed just adds extra texture, which I think is really neat in a card like this. So I'm going to heat set that until it's smooth and melted, and you can't really see anything here, but once you tip it in the light, you'll see that if it shines or if it's grainy still, it just still needs to be heat set. And then I did douse my paper with quite a bit of water. I have a tendency to be a bit heavy-handed when it comes to the water, so I like to kind of do it above my Splat Box. And then I did spray on my colors. So for my colors, I am using salvaged Patina Distress Spray Stain. And then I also have Snow Flurries and Hocus Pocus, which are mica sprays. You probably cannot get them anymore. However, they are just something I'm really having fun reaching for, but you could use any distress or any color you wanted to use. It just happened to use purple and blues for this specifically because I knew I wanted my lantern to be silver. So this is kind of why I reached for these. And then I did end up using my heat tool just to heat to this. I get impatient waiting for things to dry, so I found this was just a bit easier. And then I did end up bringing in a little bit more of Salvaged Patina. I just splashed that straight on the background, full strength, and I didn't end up adding any more water to it. So it kind of just added a bit more of the blue color, which was kind of my dominant color in this. And then I heat set it there. And then I'm going to jump into stamping a bit of texture on the background. So I have 3 colors of the Archival ink minis. I have Speckled Egg, Dusty Concord, and Evergreen Bough. And I have another stamp set. I'm going to use 2 stamps from the Reflection stamp set, which is what I used in the beginning. This stamp set here also comes from that same stamp set. And then I'm also going to bring in a couple of circle stamps, and those are from the Finnabair Don't Forget to Fly stamp set, which I have had for a very long time. I believe you can still get it, but honestly, any stamp set would add texture. This is just what I happen to own, so this is what I tend to enjoy using, but anything that you have on hand would give some great texture. And I did stick to kind of the blue, a tealy blue, and then Dusty Concord for a purple. I am staying in the same color family with the background stamping, just slightly darker shades than what I have in my background, so that you can see it, but it doesn't pull focus. So it's kind of why I picked those specific colors. And then honestly, there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing on the background. I'm just stamping wherever I want to, doing second generation stamping, just kind of using my fingers, whatever kind of looks good. And then I do end up bringing in that text stamp again to kind of give the image a bit of a border. So you can kind of see that I am staying around the outside edges. That was just because I didn't want a bunch of text behind my focal, just because I knew you could see through it. So I kind of ended up sticking to more adding the texture on the outside edges. And I just kind of went between the colors that I had. And I didn't really wipe my stamps off while stamping, and so if there was some color variation, it just would look really neat. So now I'm going to cut out the Tim Holtz Candlelight Colorize die set. I'm going to use the lantern from this, and I have a couple of different types of cardstock here. So for the lantern, it does have 3 layers. So I did use the silver metallic Kraft-stock, the black metallic Kraft-stock for the lantern itself, and then I have a piece of Simon Says Stamp cream cardstock for the candle. I have the Kraft gold cardstock or metallic cardstock for the candle, like the flame. And then I have some white glitter cardstock for the melty part of the candle. So, I mean, I chose to use several different types of cardstock for this. By all means, you don't need to do that. You could layer it up with 3 of the exact same colors. I chose black because I wanted the lantern to be dramatic. So you get quite a color variation between the 2 layers of silver and the layer of black on top. So it gives it a very dramatic looking shadow, which is what I was after. By no means do you need to do that. If that's not your style, don't do it. There's no issue there. It's completely up to you what colors you choose to use. This is just kind of how I decided to do it. And I love this. I love this lantern so much. I think last time I used it in a Christmas card. So this is quite a bit different, but same die set, and it's still I think a beautiful card. So I'm going to layer up my Colorize, and there are kind of grooves in the pieces of cardstock that show you where to put your layers. So here you can see I've got that black piece. This is the topmost layer, the shadow layer, and I am adhering it to the top first just because I found this easier for me and because I want to put some acetate between the other 2 layers to kind of create that lantern effect. And yes, I noticed that I hadn't popped out one of the pieces in the lantern, which I will do here in a second. I noticed it as I was adhering this that I hadn't popped that out yet, but not a big deal, takes a few seconds. And I do often use acrylic blocks to weigh things down as well. So here's my piece of acetate, and I am going to just adhere it straight down to the top layer, the one you just saw me adhere the shadow to, because the bottom layer is the base, right? So I want to sandwich this between the 2 layers so that it doesn't stick out anywhere. So I cut it down, and then I'm going to have to trim it a bit more. It wasn't perfectly cut for how I did this because it's pretty hard to do that. But you can see here it's adhered, and there's just a little bit hanging off the one side. So I'm just going to bring in my mini snips and trim it off because I don't want anything hanging out, but I find it easier to actually adhere it down first and then just slowly trim next to the edge. That's just how I like to do it. You, by all means, can do whatever works for you. I like this glass looking effect. I think that it adds some more dimension and texture to the lantern, so I kind of like that. And then now you could put the candle inside. You could put the candle on the back, however you want to do it. I chose to adhere my candle to the back of the lantern so that it looked like it was inside and like the layers of the kind of crosses in the lantern are in front of the candle. Now, you don't have to do that. You could absolutely put the candle in the middle of those 2 layers and it would be sandwiched with that acetate. However, I chose to have the X's kind of in front of my candle, so I'm going to adhere it right on the back, which is what I'm doing right here. It's just a look. Again, like these, you can put them together however you want. You can color them however you want. You can do whatever you want. And sorry I get a little out of frame there. I get really close to my face in a couple of these shots, and you guys kind of can't see what I'm doing, but it's usually just straightening out the die cuts. And then I really wanted to add a little bit more black to the cardstock, so I brought in a black matte. I trimmed this down to be about 1/4 of an inch smaller. No, sorry, 1/8 of an inch smaller than my base, which is A2 size. And then I cut off 1/4 of an inch on each sides of this so that it's 1/8 of an inch smaller than my black matte. And those pieces won't go to waste. I will adhere them on the inside, though I don't show it to you until the end. And then I'm going to bring in my Nuvo Deluxe glue. This is just because this bottle is almost empty, so I'm trying to use it up. But you could use any glue. I did use Barely Art glue for the smaller elements on the lantern, just because I find I have better control with the finer tip. But I mean, you use whatever works for you. I just have a preference towards liquid glue. So I did adhere this down and kind of arranged it how I liked it, and then I'm going to adhere it straight to the card base as well. And again, I'm going to use that Nuvo Deluxe glue because I'm almost out of it. Well, out of this bottle specifically. So I'm trying to kind of use up what's left, so it skips and it jumps and it's not real great. So it sits upside down on my desk, and I'm just trying to use it up so that I can jump into a newer bottle. But I don't like to waste things, so I'm kind of waiting. And I did decide to adhere this straight down to the base because it has so many layers from the amount of cardstock that I've put under it or on it. So you could pop it up if that's what you wanted to do. I pondered it, but in the end I decided to lay it flat just because it already has so many layers to it. So again, whatever your personal preference is, this is just what I decided to do. And then we're going to get into the sentiment. So the sentiment actually is what kind of started this card. It says Shine Brightly. It is a sentiment label strip from Tim Holtz as well. And I just cut it in half, and this is kind of what made me think of this card. And then it kind of snowballed from there. I was like, well, I know I want to have a silver lantern, so I'm going to have a blue and purple background. And I know, like it just kind of evolved from this sentiment. So I had a lot of fun playing with this and I had no idea how it was going to turn out. I love it. I think that it turned out really pretty. And because it's me and everything has to have as much shine as humanly possible, I did also bring in some Pink Fresh Essential Jewels. These are the Glacier Jewels. I believe you can actually buy them separately from the set now. However, I own the set, so that's what I choose to use, but you can actually buy these colors all separately now. So that's pretty cool. I'll have both. I have everything linked and listed down below whenever I use stuff. So if you ever have a question, make sure you just leave me a comment and I will happily answer. So that is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to know what you think of this card. I am in love with how this turned out. I think that it turned out really pretty. And it just kind of was a super random card that I kind of came up with on the fly. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this card. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and sometimes in between. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.